Hopefully you spent this past holiday weekend enjoying time with your loved ones. I know I did. It was great. But if you happened to peek onto social media at any point over the last few days, you may have seen people started speculating without any real, actual acute evidence that something bad happened to Donald Trump. Now, it's true that until today, the president had not spoken publicly in a week. And this past weekend, his public schedule was very light, a lot of time on the golf course. Something about that combination got the rumor mill turning. People shared images of this little bruise on the president's hand, which is not uncommon for a man of his advanced age. Others shared photos like this one showing what outlets like the Daily Beast have referred to disparagingly as Trump's cankles. Again, there's a non-life-threatening medical explanation for that. Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, which is a common condition that can cause, pretty intense swelling of the ankles like you see there. Still, the rumors managed to get enough traction that Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz seemed to acknowledge them at a Labor Day event yesterday.
Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you for believing in these times, because, look, I get it. You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
I mean, not just, people that are not big fans of the president, but even Trump's allies have been speculating about his poor health.
So as the crisis gets worse, and it's going to get worse, because you can see him declining faster and faster, I predict Trump is going to have some type of collapse within the next 12 months at the current trajectory. I'm not saying he's going to collapse. I'm saying if he doesn't take his foot off the gas pedal, I guarantee you.
Now, Alex Jones is not a medical doctor, not someone that you should really listen to about these matters. And in the end, all the rumor mongering and speculation appears, at least for now, to be totally baseless. As we saw today, the president of the United States is very much alive and seemingly as well as ever, for what that's worth. Although he was asked about the rumors in the Oval Office today, which was a strange moment, and we'll have his answer next.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see you for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him.
There you have it. The president of the United States is alive and, well, his typical self. But while the online speculation over the long weekend turned out to be just that, the growing curiosity about Trump's well-being might be at least a bit understandable, considering that this White House has not given us any reason to trust what it says on just about anything, especially when it comes to the health of a man who is the oldest to ever take the oath of office. Jamelle Bouie is an opinion columnist for the New York Times. Tim Miller is a former spokesman for the RNC, now writer-at-large for The Bulwark, and they join me now. Tim, I found that I mostly did stay off social media this weekend, but when the times where I sort of managed to dip in, I was like, wait, what's going on? Did I miss something? Did actually something happen? And why do you think there is this sort of phenomenon that has been gathering force recently?
Yeah, I thought about wearing my white lab coat for this segment, Chris, but I decided not to. I think that this phenomenon is based around a few things. One, Donald Trump is extremely, extremely old. And so people have speculation about him. I think that number two, as you alluded to, they lie about everything. And I think that his last medical report said he weighed, he had the physique of Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, I'm pretty sure, as far as height and weight is concerned. And so they lie about his health. And so when you have things like weird bruises on your hands and huge cankles, and you're not in public for 48 hours, in a different administration, in the Jimmy Carter or George H.W. Bush administration, they would have provided a statement and people would have believed them, right? And they don't, this administration, you can't do that. So I think that's another reason things get out of hand. And, look, the only thing, I have one maybe agreement with Alex Jones, maybe a disagreement with some viewers on this point. But the one other thing that drives this is Trump does have an insane schedule. I mean, he has a very, very public schedule. It's not like he's a coal miner or whatever. It's not a physical job, but he's a 79-year-old man who's out talking like 5 hours a day in front of cameras and
Yes.
and traveling internationally. If you've ever traveled with a senior citizen internationally, do you think when they land they're going to do a 2-hour press conference? Like, so he keeps a very intense schedule, and then he went away for 3 days, and I think he was probably worn out, and I think that led to the speculation.
Jamel, I saw a few people make this point, which really stuck with me, about people who had been in societies that were not democracies, where there's some authoritarian leader, and how common it is when the leader disappears for a little period of time for this speculation about like the health or the death of said leader, that this is like a real trope in closed societies, authoritarian societies. And that chilled me a little bit and also felt like it had a little kernel of truth to it.
Yeah, it does, I think, have a small kernel of truth to it, that we are already, I think, collectively getting acculturated to looking at the president in this manner as some sort of like leader who has to be present all the time, or people start getting concerned, worried, I think in this case a little excited that something may have happened. I think it's a funny reflection of how central the presidency has become to American political culture. That there is this kind of constant obsession about where the president may be, if they're in the public eye, if they're doing something. And I find that, I mean, separate and apart from Trump, I find the centrality of the president to everything we think about American politics to be not good, to be actually kind of one of the things that has fed into how we've got to where we are today.
I totally 100% agree with that. And I do think also, Tim, part of what's driving it as well is I think there's a sense a lot of people had that there was a lot of speculation about Biden's health. There was a lot of talking about Biden's health. There's been even a long sort of mea culpa, sort of self-recrimination in some of the press that there wasn't enough talk about Biden's health. And I think some people are like, well, this guy is like super old and does clearly have some physical issues in front of him, and also does seem to like blank out sometimes, or like his brain seems mushy, although is it any mushier than it was before? I don't know. And a little bit of like frustration that it's not like even Steven, I guess. Yeah.
I think that there's probably some of that. It's also on people's mind, right? I mean, like the gerontocracy side of this thing.
Yes.
And look, you also had Mitch McConnell, froze a couple of times recently. We've had this in several other cases. So I think that is something that leads to it. But I could not agree more with Jamel, just by the way, just both on this notion that like this does carry echoes of what you see in other countries. I forget, I was talking to one of my colleagues today. I was talking about how I was reminiscent of how, Castro was dying for 20 years. And then finally happened. It was too late. I do think there's a little bit of something to that for sure, and that it reflects poorly on how the centrality of the presidency in our lives right now. Yeah, there was a line about someone posted this, and it really stuck with me, Jamel, that in 1997, in 2007, in 2017, and possibly in 2027, the president was born in the same year in all of those years. Like, we've gone now from like Bill Clinton through like that. It's just the same generation still there as time marches forward.
I mean, there's an interesting observation to make here just about the durability of whatever the Trump coalition is, precisely like looking at his age, looking at the fact that the president, this is the oldest person to take the oath of office, president who's pushing 80, who seems exhausted, and whose victory last year was not nearly as substantial as I think people remember it being. It was sort of the best possible headwinds for Trump, and he barely assembled a winning coalition. And there's one way to look at all of this and to see it not as, a triumphant president on the march, but a quite exhausted one, both literally and politically, attempting to burrow itself into power as much as it possibly can in the short amount of time that it has.
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, is that people have a sense or a hope that he's sui generis and the forces he's unleashed can't be sort of passed around to someone else. And I think that, I don't know if that's going to prove true or not, but I think people do have that hope. Jamelle Bouie, Tim Miller, thank you both.